I'm gonna go jazz hands. Alrighty. Woo! Okay, have you guys noticed lately the amount of things online that people are becoming famous for or like really well known for? Yeah. So I actually saw this article the other day, and I think it was called like a list of the most like obscure or like out there things that people are becoming famous for, influencers for. I wrote a couple of them down here. So there's one, it's really cute. It's called the Granfluencer. So it's senior citizens who become influencers in their golden years. So Granfluencers. We have cleanfluencers. Can you guess what cleanfluencers is? People who clean, you're right. People who become really famous or really well known for cleaning their homes and giving cleaning tips, which I mean, I love a good cleanfluencer. I mean, myself, I'm not going to lie. It's fun to watch those videos. What? I could become one. I am really obsessed with cleanly things, you know. Although I'm not really actually that clean though. And then the last one, which I find really funny, and for some reason it keeps on pulling up on my like For You page or whatever. Like when I scroll through, I see so many of these videos, but it's farmfluencers. I don't know why, but it's farmers who are famous for sharing truth about life on the farm. You know, nothing big. And for some reason, I keep on getting those on my For You page. I don't want to live on a farm, but apparently I keep on watching them or something. Is there any other ones that you guys could think of that you could come up with a funny name? Yes.
I don't know about a funny name, but there's a lot of people that are like on TikTok pretending to be AIs and stuff.
Oh, that's actually, I've seen that. That's really cool. An AI bot. That is pretty cool. The way that they could like move themselves to make you look not human. Any other ones that we could think of, Megan? Get ready, fluencer. Oh, what is it? Grum. Never mind. Ignore me. The GRWM, right? Get ready with me. Yeah, it just looks like Grim. Anyways, yes. What about you?
I've seen a bunch of accounts where they just post the Grammys.
The Grammys. Oh, Gramfluencers. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially around the Grammys time. Yeah. Okay, the last one. Oh, momfluencers. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Yes, Avril.
The cow hoof influencers.
The the what?
She likes those cow hoofs videos where they scoop the stuff out.
They're so satisfying to watch.
The rug shawl.
Oh yeah, the rug fluencers. Yeah, yes. All right, that one, I think that is a good one to lead off on there. I don't think we could top that one. All right, let's all bring it back together. All right, let's bring it back to the front. I know, we could talk about it forever. And I think it's so crazy how these random people have so much influence over millions of people all the time and about the weirdest things. And we watch them. We all get super excited about it, about washing a rug. I don't know why, but we do it. I just got so sidetracked and thinking, like, do you think that they, like, purposely get them super dirty? I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting so off topic. You really got me on that one. Okay. So, guys, in this series that we're wrapping up tonight, The Greatest of All Time, we're talking all about living out one of the things that Jesus says matters most when it comes to our faith, and it's serving. So, we all come to the table in different ways when it comes to this idea of serving, about the word serving. So, for some of us, when we think of serving, when we think of this idea of serving, it comes easy to us. We're excited about it. We can't wait to jump in and be able to serve each other. But for others, it's a little bit more complicated. But I really think that when we start to see serving in a different way, in the way that maybe Jesus had intended for us to see it, that it has the potential to change everything and possibly to make us the greatest of all time in all the best ways, right? Who doesn't want to be a goat? I love goats. They're the best. So, thank you. Speaking of goats, I want you guys to all imagine for a minute that you got super popular online. So you were an influencer. I don't care what it's about, and you don't have to think about it. Just imagine that you become one of those huge influencers, and you have millions of followers and a lot of influence, okay? So we could pull up that question that we pulled up. Thank you, Joey. So I want you guys to think about if you could use that platform to make any one change or impact in the world right now, what would it be? What would you use your influence of all those millions of peoples for? Think about it for a second. You had your hand? Yes. Body positivity. I love that. What other impacts would you make on the world? Kayla.
Bringing awareness to a lot of different mental health issues and stuff like that.
Mental health awareness. Yes. What other things? Megan. Bullying awareness. What other stuff? Yep.
You could just make people laugh because it makes their day better. Bringing happiness to
Happiness. Making an account all about bringing joy into the world. Yeah. Food positivity. Any other ones? Maggie. Spread the word. About Jesus' word. Yes. Guys, those are all really amazing things. Anybody else have anything else to add to the table? Why are you guys giggling back there? You guys thinking about not funny things back there? Anyways, guys, these are all really amazing things. And if you guys haven't heard this before, let me be the first to tell you that I 1000% believe that you guys have the potential to actually change the world for the better. Like, for real, that I genuinely think that you guys are going to be the generation to start changing the world for the better here. And all of these changes that you guys are talking about, the big changes, the small changes that you want to see happen, you guys can be a part of that. And now, when we think about that, I think there's two different parties, right? There's one party that gets really excited about that idea. So you hear this and saying that you are part of making the world a better place, that you could be the change to make the world better, and you get really excited. You feel inspired. The idea of stepping up, jumping in, and being a part of the kind of change that makes the world better, you are all for it. But there's others of us that it's not that simple. I mean, if you're anything like me, then maybe you might be feeling like the thought of changing the world and making the world a better place is a really big job. I know that has been something that I have struggled with. It's too big. I don't know that I could do that. I will never be able to maybe make a difference, or we won't ever actually have the kind of influence like I talked about if you had 1 million followers. Realistically, I'm never going to have that much influence online or in the world. And so the world is also a big and complicated place with a lot of people in need, and I'm just one person. So it makes us kind of ask the question sometimes of what can I actually do to make a change in the world? And so maybe we don't think that we'll ever have that kind of influence. Maybe we think that we don't know how to do it, and so we don't know even where to get started. Maybe we feel like we just don't know enough on making that change, or we're not even sure where to start. And my biggest one that gets me every single time is maybe we've made too many mistakes. Maybe I've messed up too many times to be able to actually help anybody else and make a difference, because I've messed up. Like, who am I to be able to make a difference in the world? But guys, I think these thoughts, which are really easy to get stuck into and believe that they're truths instead of just thoughts in our heads, it makes it really easy for us to feel overwhelmed or maybe discouraged about stepping up and serving, right? But what if it didn't have to be? Can you make sure, Haley, can you make sure you're awake there? Can you make sure Haley's awake? Yeah, can you guys sit up, please? Go ahead and sit up. Thank you. I want to make sure we're all hearing this. Guys, what if it didn't have to be difficult and overwhelming and it feels like impossible? What if there is a different way to look at influence than just the influence that we see nowadays, where you have to have 1 million followers to be able to make a difference? What if we reimagined the way we see ourselves and our potential, our personal potential to make an impact in the world? And then even better, what if we didn't have to do it on our own? So that's what we're talking about tonight. So guys, we're going to take a look at a challenge that Jesus gave his disciples before he left. And these were the people. So his disciples, these 12 disciples and a couple more around it, because it wasn't just 12. Those were just the ones that were shown up in the Bible and that were actually talked about. But there was more than 12 disciples. There was other followers that traveled around with Jesus. And so these people were the ones that did everything with Jesus in his ministry. They witnessed him doing some of the most unbelievable and life-changing things. Anything that from him healing the sick to calming a storm to literally raising somebody from the dead. And so you would think that if they spent years traveling around with this guy that did those many things and they traveled around with God in flesh, God in human form, you'd think that they would think that they were capable of anything. That this would be an easy task for them to do, right? Whatever Jesus asked them to do, they would be like, oh yeah, sure. If I believe in you, then I could do anything, right? That's what I would think naturally. But I always have to remember that these people were human. They were just like you and me. And part of being human is experiencing the very real fear that you might not be able to do the big, scary, next to impossible thing that you're asked to do. And I can imagine that when Jesus asked his disciples this thing that we're about to see, that they would probably be a little bit nervous because Jesus is asking them to go out and change the world. So let's go ahead and check that out. So it says, Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. So guys, this sounds like a really big challenge, right? Basically, Jesus is asking his followers to go out and do something incredibly huge. He's asking them to keep Jesus' ministry going, to keep all of his teachings going, to teach other people what he taught them, to literally go to all of the nations, all of the world, everywhere, and go and make disciples of other people. That's a pretty big deal. It's important to also note that at the time that these disciples were not all of this huge billionaire influencers with private jets and millions of followers. They were young and they were poor and they didn't have a lot of influence in their communities. They were just like us. We're young. You guys, I'm not saying you guys are poor, but you have to ask your parents to be able to use money, right? Like we don't have our own money to be able to just like go out and give wherever we want to and do whatever we want to do. So what kind of influence would we guys have, right? Guys, most of them had never left the Galilean countryside where they lived, which is the equivalent of us saying today that we've never left the Tampa Bay area or we've never left Pinellas County. They've stayed in this tiny little area their entire lives, and Jesus is telling them, go out and do these things. And then to make it better, or maybe worse, I'm not really sure what that would be, but to make things probably worse, there was no mass transit. So you either rode on an animal, you took a sailboat somewhere, it wasn't like a motorized boat, or you literally walked on foot to get wherever you go. And so the idea of going into unknown parts of the world and spreading the message of Jesus, that had to be a terrifying thing for these people, for these kids, these young adults that were going and trying to make a difference in the world. But yet we have to remember that Jesus chose them to do that. Jesus chose these not important people in the world to go and do one of the biggest things. Jesus gave them a big vision for the impact that they could have in bigger places. The question is, did he know that sometimes they'd be scared? Did he understand that it would be difficult? Did he know that they weren't really sure how to start? Absolutely. But also, did he know that they didn't have to do it alone? Yeah. He was right there with them because remember what Jesus finished off that command with. Look at this verse here. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So Jesus says, ends that big, huge thing that they're going to do and says, be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. So guys, Jesus knew that with his Spirit, with the Holy Spirit, that these people would be able to do that these disciples would be able to do this command. And the same is true for us, because each and every single one of us has that same Spirit that lives inside of us. As followers of Jesus, we have the opportunity to also step out into the world and to be going and serving others, to tell the world about Jesus in the way that we live, in the way that maybe we love, in the way that maybe we serve. And the question is it going to be scary? Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be overwhelming at times? Yes. I don't think that any of these big things would ever not be those because it's an important thing. But we're also not doing it alone. Guys, Jesus' Spirit is with us every step of the way, and it allows us to be able to be a part of something big. And so, friends, what I mean by this is that we are allowed to be able to use this, and just like his disciples, Jesus wants us to go. He wants us to be able to go and do those things. He wants us to serve, to show up, to speak up, to do something small even when we don't have to use your influence, no matter how big or small it is, to share God's love. Jesus promised to be with his disciples always. Not when just sometimes, not when it was easy, not even when they just needed him. He was literally there every step of the way, and he would never leave them alone. And that is the same thing for us. So friends, when we choose to be a part of something big, we can do it knowing that we're not going to be alone in that. And here's where we can start. The first thing is that we can name what we're scared of. Because let's be honest, guys, I'm not talking about something like conquering your fear of spiders or your fear of heights. Those are totally different. What I'm talking about is the thing that you might be afraid to do that has the potential to impact the world around you for the better. So maybe that is inviting the kid who's on their own. Maybe we're at youth group and we're hanging out this summer, and it's looking around instead of just being focused on what you're doing, but looking around and seeing if there's any kids that are on their own not playing games, and you invite them in to play games with you, or to sit with you at dinner, or to sit with you at lunch, or whatever you're doing. Maybe it's speaking up when someone around you is hurting, or maybe being hurt, or somebody says a mean joke to them that everybody else laughs at but wasn't actually funny to that person. Maybe it's inviting a friend that you've gone to school with this year to join you at something this summer, to go to youth group, somebody that maybe needs community, to hang out with us, to find family, just like we are. Or maybe it's taking the big step to signing up for a mission trip that we have this summer and serving in a big way in that way. Friends, whatever it is for you, whatever that thing that you're like, ooh, Megan, that feels so weird, that feels so uncomfortable, but it'll make a change for the better, that is the thing I want you to name. And then the second thing we could do is that we could ask Jesus for courage to do it. Guys, remember, Jesus left us with our spirit so we don't have to do this or anything alone. Because of that, we can find the courage with him to do what we might not think we could ever do to serve the world around us. So ask him to give you the words, maybe the thoughts, the wisdom, or just the heart to make that happen. And then the third thing is to take a step. So do the next thing that moves you in the right direction. Instead of thinking about serving as this big, huge, overwhelming task like it sometimes feels like when we talk about changing the world, just think of serving as taking one step at a time. Taking it one day at a time. Because it might not feel that big in the moment. It might feel like you're just taking one step and it's going super slow. But when you look back at all that you've did and all that you've moved forward, you make big progress over time. So friends, I believe that you guys are going to be the generation that's full of world changers. And I think that means that the potential we have to serve others and to make a change in this world is really huge. And we don't have to do that alone. And it doesn't have to be a big, overwhelming, and scary thing. Because look at what the disciples did. We're here today because of the step-by-step thing that they did way back then, 2,000 years ago. And look at where it's led. You never know the impact that you'll make on the world. So as you guys head to your small groups, I want you guys to think about one small step that you can take to make a big impact in the world right now.